to the webinar of today from IDQ. My name is Axel Fury. With me as presenter is Jill Tracel, and we looking forward for a very interesting topic today, which is called Quantum Improving Your Organization to Build a Trusted Future. So a quite broad statement and bold statement, and I hope you enjoy the next couple of minutes to get some insights and also learn the 5 steps how you can prove your organization to become quantum safe, which is in front of all of us in the quantum decade, as we say. Before we start with the presentation, a couple of informations. At first, there's always the chance to ask questions during the presentations in the chat area. We will have also a Q&A section on the end of the presentation. So, and we're looking forward for good questions and hope we can answer all of them. And as well, if a couple of things may be lost or dropped, there's also a recording available afterwards. You will get also access to this one. So now I hand over to Jill and enjoy the session. Thank you very much for joining today. Jill.
Thank you, Axel. So let me share. So good afternoon, and thank you for joining this session today. So let's start maybe with a brief introduction and let's discuss a bit what's happening these days. The coronavirus has obviously affected our lives, both at a personal and professional level. But very importantly, new remote tools have shown to be successful for many organizations, and we are currently assessing the productivity of working remotely, typically through webinar like today. At the same time, working this way also increases the needs to raise security, both on the networks and to the edge. And it is no secret, data is your most precious asset and often represents the company competitive advantage. Making data secure is therefore paramount and even more urgent than ever. Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, the current situation has seen increased intrusion attempts, and this risk will only intensify moving forward. This means that IT and security teams have a tremendous responsibility to safeguard data and intellectual property. And we rely essentially on cryptography to uphold that responsibility. This is why it is absolutely necessary to look at security with a broader perspective and take that opportunity to act now to better protect data and communication. Let me illustrate this through a recent achievement from ID Quantic. Together with SK Telecom, we have just announced the Samsung Galaxy A Quantum, which is nothing else than the world's first 5G smartphone equipped with a quantum random number generator. By integrating this technology into a smartphone, Samsung has added quantum physics to smartphone security to protect consumer most sensitive information, ensuring them long-term protection against malicious hacking attacks. We all download more and more mobile applications that often require the collection and transmission of a large amount of sensitive information, including digital identification, for instance. At the same time, yes, we are rarely conscious about the security implications. And the same applies to the networks, obviously. What's the bottom line? Quantum-related security technology will become ubiquitous, as it provides long-term security for your IT infrastructure and application. Just a few words about ID Quantique, although for those who don't know us. The company was created in Geneva back in 2001 by 4 scientists from the University of Geneva, who anticipated the important forthcoming impact of quantum physics on information technology. The company initially operated as a small university spin-off, working on research projects to demonstrate the feasibility of quantum key distribution, or QKD, better known as quantum cryptography. From 2010 and onwards, IDQ rolled out quantum-safe crypto solutions designed to protect data for the long-term future in both commercial and government markets worldwide, and quickly became the world leader in that space. In 2018, SK Telecom announced a strategic investment plan into ID Quantique, helping the company to continue to develop global markets in partnership. It was also a recognition that quantum communication technologies will play a significant role in securing our data communications, both in the backbone and at the edge, in an era where the quantum computer will render vulnerable much of our today's cryptography. So let's jump in the topic. There is no agenda as such for our today's session, but rather a kind of methodology I wanted to share with you that will help you to add quantum to your own agenda. A cybersecurity posture tells a lot about an organization. Are you passive or are you proactive? Data security is a never-ending marathon. Adding quantum gives you a step ahead in this race. It's all about preparing yourself and your infrastructure for the quantum era, which forces us to review and rethink our security fundamental beliefs and strategy. Quantum technologies are set to revolutionize the world we'll live in. Progress in quantum will allow unprecedented achievements. Quantum computing exponential power will create a world of opportunities in finance, machine learning, pharma, and medical research, just to name a few. Some intractable problems will become all of a sudden tractable. As a side note, this is not the speed of the computer, which is relevant here, but the fact that it needs much fewer steps to solve complex problems. And it is not straightforward, as using a quantum computer requires building a new way to do computation with quantum algorithm in order to take advantage of that new release power. Many companies are already working on this new algorithm. But, as always, with great opportunities also come significant challenges. The unique ability of quantum computer to solve complex problems like factorizations, for instance, means that it will also have the power to break some of the cryptographic primitives and systems more or less instantly. And this is scary. This is why there is a need for a quantum counterpart, so-called quantum communications, that will be able to protect the integrity, security, and authenticity of the data today and in the quantum era. It is critically important to make sure that our security infrastructure will be still standing moving forward. Even if we don't know when a quantum computer will be available, the very first step is to acknowledge its impact on today's cryptography. The download now, decrypt later attack vector means that encrypted sensitive data can be downloaded today and analyzed offline later. Fortunately, not all crypto will be broken by the quantum computer. Symmetrically, a hash-based crypto seems to be resilient. This is widely accepted by the community as long as you use true randomness to generate the encryption keys, as long as you use keys of 256 bits, and you renew the key material on a very regular basis. However, the process which is used to exchange the keys is absolutely critical and must also be quantum resistant. On the other hand, you have so-called asymmetrical cryptography, relying on the exchange of a public key. Because of the vast time required to break current key lengths, even with all available computing power, public key crypto such as RSA or elliptic curve are deemed safe enough to carry the majority of our sensitive network traffic today. But with the emergence of the quantum computer, this fundamental assumption simply becomes invalid. One idea is to base a new cipher security infrastructure only on symmetric crypto whenever possible. Some entities like governments and military simply do not use asymmetric crypto anymore at all. Quantum computing will have a different impact on every type of hardware and software. A rigorous inventory and assessment of all these assets is therefore strongly advised, with a special attention on public key infrastructure and data center interconnectivity. You need to understand the risks involved to be able to act accordingly and prioritize. A quantum risk assessment should be part of the current risk assessment in order to consider what step you should be taking to be secure in a post-quantum era. ID Quantic can put you in touch with different partners highly specialized in this exercise. But in any case, what you need to keep in mind is the time to migrate and upgrade current security systems. When do you need to start worrying them? There are some questions you have to ask yourself. Typically, what is the lifetime of the information I need to protect? How long does it take to upgrade my existing infrastructure to be quantum safe? Is my current infrastructure quantum safe ready? Migration takes anyway 1 to 2 years, if not more. And if your organizational lifetime and, let's say, information lifetime is above 5 years, which is clearly the case when it comes to sensitive data and intellectual property, then you need to move quickly. In a couple of years, this will be too late, and the risk to see your most sensitive data publicly exploitable is then major. Just a short pause to remind you there will be a QA session at the end of the presentation. So I would like to invite you to already submit your question through the tool. Thank you in advance for that. So, in summary, we can observe a major increase of targeted attacks over the past few years. This is putting a lot of pressure on the security teams in order to follow this increased pace of data breaches. And even if you're implemented properly conventional countermeasures, many governments and malicious organizations are already scrapping and storing your encrypted data off the network for future exploitation, typically when the quantum computer will be available. This means that in addition to conventional data protection and encryption, which is widely available today for sure, you need to think ahead and plan for longer-term data protection. You need now to start thinking about and potentially implement new crypto tools. Getting prepared must be considered as a 3-step journey where every completed step will add a layer of trust and preparedness to your infrastructure. As you know, the key, and only the key, is what really and ultimately matters in crypto. In other words, the effectiveness of the encryption derives from the fact that the key is kept secret and is unbreakable. This means first that the key generation process must be appropriate, in the sense that it must not be possible for a third party to guess, deduce, or break it. This is why truly random numbers must be used for the key generation. Secondly, it must not be possible for a third party to intercept the secret key during its exchange between the sender and the recipient. This is the so-called key distribution problem. And finally, the more often a key is changed, the stronger the security. Using quantum random number generation to produce crypto keys will instantly strengthen any current cryptography system. Generating strong keys based on true randomness is the cornerstone of security, since, as we have seen, good keys must be unique, unpredictable, and truly random. Quantum random number generators have the advantage over conventional randomness sources of being provably secure. Elementary components can be easily monitored to detect any failures or attacks. Environmental perturbation can be ruled out by simple health checks, guaranteeing QRNG always produce high-quality entropy. There are many examples highlighting the fact that overlooking randomness leads to serious security breaches. Adding QRNG is a very simple and obvious step to be taken and will immediately bring security benefits to your infrastructure. We can name, as part of these benefits, high speed and true randomness from the very first bit, simple and provably unpredictable source of random bits, configurable post-processing, high resilience to environmental perturbation, and so on. Quantum random numbers also play a critical role in other applications, such as stochastic modeling, gambling, Monte Carlo simulation, and extensive data processing. Let's have a look at a quantum random number generator use case. 5G is set to play a key role in critical applications, as we all know, like smart cities and factories, connected vehicles and hospitals. 5G requires the highest level of security available to resist to existing and emerging threats. More specifically, it requires to strengthen the user equipment authentication procedures to restrict unauthorized access to the devices. SK Telecom identified that the true randomness of the key used during the mobile authentication process was essential to achieve a high security level. The use of pseudo-random number generator or even true random number generator but based on classical physics is not enough to resist to strong pattern analysis. A repeated pattern can be observed over time after enough queries and samples. The chosen solution was to replace the PRNG by a QRNG, which provides instantaneous true randomness and higher entropy. By adding QRNG to its mobile network authentication server, SK Telecom has reinforced its authentication and encryption security. They have developed a future-proof solutions able to securely connect a high number of 5G devices for IoT applications. Second step of our journey is about crypto agility. organizations must ensure they are crypto-agile in order to minimize the disruption of the infrastructure when changes are needed. A future quantum-safe infrastructure requires different types of tools adapted to the security target. A few examples. Make sure your encryption systems are flexible and upgradable to quantum security. Implement hybrid solutions relying on a mixture of standard solution and quantum resistant algorithm when this new algorithm will be available, of course. Secure large sensitive data exchanges between several locations with quantum key distribution as an extra layer for long-term privacy needs, complementing and enhancing your existing infrastructure. There is no single and universal primitive which would provide perfect security for all applications, but implement the ones you need. You have to build crypto agility into your devices, system, and deployments to ensure an upgrade path in the future. And use hardware-based key generation, typically QNG, for adequate security of cryptographic operation throughout the lifetime of your devices and applications. To introduce the third and final step of our journey, we need first to understand how crypto primitives are used nowadays in a typical network deployment like data center interconnect. Most of the time, symmetric encryption is used for data encryption between locations. It relies on the existence of a secret key shared between the encryption devices at each end. The most widespread algorithm, AES, is widely believed to be a quantum-resistant algorithm. Furthermore, the current recommended key size of 256 bits is also considered as safe. The problem, as there is one, lies in the mechanism which is used to exchange the keys between the two symmetrical encryption devices. This is RSA in this example. Most of the commercial encryption solutions available today use, indeed, public key cryptography to exchange the keys for the secret key algorithm such as AES. But the quantum computer will render this crypto system just useless overnight, no matter the key size. In addition, even fiber optic networks, sometimes wrongly assumed to be inherently secure, are actually vulnerable for fiber attack, which enables data to be captured and copied without any alteration. So let's assume you can capture today all the AES and key exchange traffic on a specific fiber. So this is AES and RSA in this example. You will be able then to retrieve the AES session keys by simply breaking RSA and then apply these keys to the AES traffic to decrypt the data. That's pretty bad. And as a security solution is as secure as its weakest link, this means in a typical network encryption scenario that the current weakest link is the key distribution based on public key cryptography. And this is where precisely quantum key distribution plays a key role by removing this weak link. QKD, also known as quantum cryptography, is a technology that uses quantum physics to secure the distribution of keys generated by a QNG. It works by sending photons, which are quantum particles of light, across an optical link, so-called the quantum channel. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle stipulates that in quantum physics, observations cause perturbation. This is used to verify the security and authenticity and integrity of the distributed keys. QKD is usually combined with conventional symmetric encryption, such as AES, and used to frequently refresh the symmetrical encryption keys. It provides then unbreakable key distribution to strengthen existing network communication and is probably secure, since based on physics and not mathematics. Securing your critical assets can be done in various ways with various techniques. As we have seen, adding a QKD layer to your infrastructure today ensures you get a quick start towards quantum safe security. As long as your existing infrastructure allows it, having a joint approach with one of our technology partners protects any kind of investment you have made so far. Overlaying IDQ quantum key distribution is simpler than you may think and delivers a number of key benefits which are listed here. We are currently working with some other network encryption vendors whose solution will be soon upgradable with QKD. So stay tuned or come back to us to learn more. Let's go through some QKD use case now. We have seen that SK Telecom has applied quantum random number generator to the subscriber authentication center of its 5G network. In addition, they also applied quantum key distribution technology to one of the sections of its LTE and 5G networks to prevent hacking and eavesdropping. This is the section of the network with the most data traffic concentration in Korea and where there is the main threat due to the huge data aggregation. SK Telecom plans to expand the application of quantum cryptography technology by stages to further enhance the safety and security of its mobile networks. But more generally, data centers are the backup and recovery point for the critical data of any organization, including yours probably. In order to protect against data loss, all enterprise digital assets are usually backed up in a remote data center, or DRC. From the perspective of the hacker, eager to access some sensitive information or intellectual property, this means that the return on investment for hacking into the data center interconnect is very high. Adding QKD to the DCI infrastructures ensure then probably secure encryption key exchange, guarding against the presence of eavesdroppers and guaranteeing proven secrecy of information, even against the threat of the quantum computer. My goal today is not to cover technology in detail, but in general, yes, QKD has distance limitation in a production environment of approximately 80 to 100 kilometers between two nodes, so-called point-to-point deployment. Therefore, the concept of trusted node positioned in highly secure location has been developed in order to extend the reach of the key exchange used by the symmetrical encryptors. Data centers, for instance, have strict access rules with high security requirements to access the equipment. The trusted node themselves are also physically secured using standard FIPS level tamper detection to ensure protection of the keys inside the nodes. Trusted nodes have been rolled out now, enable QKD deployment over nationwide distances. So for instance, a live network using ID Quantic technology is now running in the UK, where QKD is interfaced with ADVA encryption systems. And more networks are under development over greater distances. Additionally, outside of typical point-to-point topology, star and ring topology are also supported now, which means that an even QKD node can connect to a remote QKD node through trusted node with add, drop, or forward capabilities. The last use case is a real-world example of deployed quantum-safe architecture. Its name, the Quantum Vault. It is perfect for the storage of digital assets like cryptocurrency, as one example. The use of crypto assets is currently increasing at an exponential rate. But some of the fundamental issues are related to the generation, backup, and storage of these same assets. And here we offer a complete solution to address all these issues at once. Our proposition combines hardware and software components, including, obviously, quantum random number generators, providing true entropy for key generation, secret sharing scheme from the market, and specific key management software for a secure backup, but with no asset duplication, which represent a danger. And optical fiber infrastructure protected by quantum key distribution, of course, for asset storage on distributed hardware security modules. This configuration is actually implemented in Geneva and works perfectly. So, in conclusion, the risk on cybersecurity caused by the quantum computer has become real. It's just now a question of time. The future of IT security lies in the implementation of new technologies, new crypto tools, especially those equipped to encrypt data against the more sophisticated hacking techniques that quantum computer will bring. But implement them in steps. The very first one being to instantly strengthen your existing crypto by adding currency, for instance. Quantum cryptography is also one such technology. Implementing quantum-safe security solutions will allow your organization to encrypt your data to an unparalleled level. This will not only protect your data from real-time hacking, but also from this famous download now, decrypt later approach, where criminals or states steal and store your encrypted information to decipher them in the future. Quantum key distribution, combined with state-of-the-art encryption from various vendors and more to come, can and should be used today to improve security on high-value links requiring long-term security. There is no associated risk when implementing QKD. It only adds one but very different layer of security to your existing infrastructure. And soon enough, all organizations will have no choice but to acknowledge the threats posed by new and innovative hacking techniques and move to a better security of their sensitive data, or risk it being stolen and exploited at some stage. So the clock is ticking, and it's time to start your own journey right now. Thank you. So let's move to the Q&A, if there is questions.
Yes. Thank you, Jill. First of this, we have a couple of questions during the session. So I think we have also some surveys. I'm not sure you want to start already one as we start with the first question.
Okay, so I will display the first survey. Okay, I will let it running for 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Please, if you could answer.
So we also share the answers, obviously. The actual question, as you can read it, are you preparing your IT infrastructure for the quantum decade? And
the majority is no.
In the moment, the majority
we still have
is no.
Some work on our side to do.
So I think we.
Okay, I'm going to close this one.
Yeah, you can close this one. So 2/3 say no, and roughly 1/3 say yes. So it's great. So 1/3 has started, and the rest we hopefully have convinced with the session. So There was one question regarding Mosca. Can you maybe give a little bit, because it was mentioned, the Mosca theory. So maybe you can give a little background on this one. That why
Let me
we use
show again the slides. Just a moment. Here.
Yeah.
This is the one, right? Okay. So yes. So you can consider this as an equation, right? So X is how long do you need your cryptographic keys to be secure? So that's the variable X. Y is
Mosca. I think the question was more about Mosca, right? So the Mosca word was more questioned. Where does it come from? Is it something we can find background? And
yeah,
so
okay. So Mosca is a very famous physicist based in Canada, and is really and highly knowledgeable about all the matters around quantum. And he was involved in many development and research projects around quantum communication, quantum theory, and we collaborate with Mr. Mosca very often, typically one of the lecture at our past winter school in Switzerland. So he's very well known and respected in that space. And this is typically also his company called Evolution Q is one of the company we use for conducting quantum risk assessment.
Thank you. Which also answers the second question. So if I want to go in these 5 steps, is there anybody who can help? And you mentioned right now this institute. And yes, there are also other consultancy companies which are now starting to have a quantum practice which supports this, and we are working with them. If you reach out to us, we can give a list of potential helpers in this case. Then there was also a quite interesting question, because on one hand we showed the phone with the quantum random number generation chip, and on the other side we showed the quantum channel as a fiber. So how does this work? And maybe we have to clarify this, Jill, that for sure for the quantum channel, so the exchange of photons, we need a line of sight. So you have to see the photon, the sender, and there's a bob in the end. And this line of sight typically is a fiber, which could be also the air, right? It's not only fiber. And on the phone side, it's only about the randomness, because for sure, as we described this in the 5-step approach, the first step is concrete step is also improve the overall randomness. It's the third step in our slides. But it's the first concrete step you do in changing hardware, where you enter quantum randomness in your system, and that's what is in the phone. But it's not the case that the phone has direct access to the quantum channel. This is typically in the moment between data centers or different locations of companies, right? So not to the phone. So we don't reach the phone, we reach maximum the cell. But you have to also keep in mind the interest to hijack data increases as more data you can get. So a single user, the effort most likely at the beginning of quantum computing will be not the target. It will be the target of massive data which are between data centers and locations. So that's the solution. And we will see how the technology evolves, and the quantum randomness provides already some first solutions on this, which improves this overall in direction of quantum computing. So
okay, so let me maybe display the second question for the pool.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Let's see.
So you can see do you have projects? We always use, by the way, this question in all our webinars. So what is the awareness? And in the end, is there already some plans? And it's quite interesting to see typically what's the outcome. And we will share this in a second as well on the actual survey.
I think I'm going to close it now. There you go.
So chill. What is the?
I close it. So
Okay.
results is 30% said that they have a project in the next 6 months, 20% in the next 12 months, and more or less half of the audience said they have no project so far in the pipe.
Okay, so I assume this will change as technology evolves over time. So
absolutely, and you know what, one important aspect is, especially if you have in or you're working on some project right now, is to consider this quantum threat as part of your thinking. What we try with this webinar is to make you aware of what's happening and get you prepared. And this get you prepared is typically adding this topic to your agenda and make sure that as part of your security strategy or even next project, you include this, making sure that whatever you invest in will be able to cope with this coming threat.
Exactly, Jill, because out of the die questions, also price questions, as we all know it in business, are not that great. And so it's better to be prepared and heard something about it and maybe have already thought about it. What is the potential countermeasure, what you can do in the organization, in your infrastructure. Okay, going to another interesting question. I read the question. If the problem is the asymmetric algorithm itself, because it is vulnerable, the prime number factorization, having a QRNG without quantum safe algorithm doesn't actually add any safety any safety, is this correct? So that's the question. At first, what we see in the moment, and you can make your own research quite easily on search engines, is that randomness becomes a more important topic. The question is always why. So most of the randomness sources we see in the moment which are used are out of the processor, right? Which is, let's say, a common technology added with some additional entropy, typically noise, temperature, stuff like this. What we see is also that software and processing power is increasing, and this combination makes this already vulnerable. So you are already in a phase where the actual randomness is under risk, even without quantum computing. That's quite interesting fact. We all should realize, even it's very difficult to understand, but big data and let's see, some inside informations on processor architectures help to overcome the actual randomness. So I give you an example, and Jill mentioned already an example. The gaming industry, which we all know, is already more or less, there's mainstream to use quantum randomness. They don't use other randomness anymore because the risk to lose a lot of money because people find a way to identify the way randomness is produced and use this to their favor is not that low. And we see the same right now in the network equipment space, as this is also the main area of attack. And so you see a lot of activities, at least we see a lot of activities that quantum randomness gets to be the standard for this because all the other sources have not the same reliability and also not the same quality by far. And that's the reason why adding quantum randomness already improves the security quality overall. But you're absolutely right. The real solution is then in combination with the right algorithm, which hopefully are quantum safe, which in the moment, there are a couple of algorithms in the race. This race will continue for sure for a long time. And a couple of them are falling out. And that's the reason why in areas where you can use QKD systems, so quantum crypto systems, we always recommend to go for this because they are already proven to be safe for this quantum threat we say. So that's a little bit the explanation. So it's already an improvement on quality. It's not the final solution. It's one of the first steps we all should consider in our actual IT architecture and designs. I hope this answers the questions a little bit. Anything to add, Jill?
No, I think you made a very brilliant summary. It's a fundamental step, the very first one. Any crypto system should be underpinned with strong key generation, because again, what ultimately matter and only matter is the key and the quality of the key. And that's something you can already do today to immediately improve your security posture, because typically brute force attacks are still happening, and brute force attacks, again, weak keys makes them breakable. So no, you made a good summary. Thank you, Axel.
Thank you. So then we close with the final evaluation about the session.
Yeah.
It all.
So,
do you like
yeah,
it? Because it's also important for us to get feedback. You also can write back to us with proposals, also for topics of interest. Obviously, we have a series of webinars around this topic in the next quarters. And so far, we are quite happy about the feedback and the questions. So I hope we reach your expectations. If not, we will try to work hard to come to the point to reach it, right? But let's see what the survey shows.
Okay, just a moment.
Okay.
Can you see it or not?
Yeah, I see it. It's fun. So thank you very much for the feedback. Thank you for attendance. 94% of you were happy, and we met the expectations. On 6%, we have to work. Jill, we take this as action, right?
Yeah, I invite the 6%. I invite the 6% to come back to us and share the concern. And we would be more than happy to, absolutely.
To convince them as well and provide the value on the information they are looking for, because that's all about. We are entering the quantum decade. So what we are talking today will be mainstream in the next couple of years. We see it with the phone as the first signal. There's more to come. And I think it's an interesting world with different rules to some extent. So if you go in detail, it's very, very attractive. So if you have questions, if you have anything where we can improve, please reach out to us. I wish you now a nice evening or a nice afternoon. It depends where you are in the world. And see you hopefully soon in the series. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jill. Take care.
Thank you. See you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.